Hey there, it's me, Don, Professor Goway, down here. I'm in Arches National Park in Utah, one of the famed Mighty 5 national parks of the state. The others being Bryce Canyon, Canyonlands, Zion National Park, and Capitol Reef National Park. Just a little north, there's a country called Canada in the way, and to the west sits Alaska. Alaska has their own mighty national parks, 8 of them in fact, but there is a total count of 16. The big boy, anchored by its equally big mountain, is Denali, sitting almost smack dab in the middle of the state, and probably the most visited park due to its reputation and location, being somewhat close to the main gateway in and around Anchorage. But there is also Glacier Bay National Park, Katmai National Park and Preserve, Kenai Falls National Park, Lake Clark National Park and Preserve, Wrangell St. Elias National Park and Preserve, and way in the north, Gates of the Arctic National Park and Preserve, Kobuk Valley National Park. Simply put, a visit to any of Alaska's national parks will take your breath away. You could fit Utah into Alaska 8 times. One-fifth the size of the lower 48, Alaska is bigger than Texas, California, and Montana combined. Alaska is also far-flung, 8 to 8 times wider east to west, and 4 times taller north to south than Utah. The number 8 plays big when talking Alaska.
Number 8 has kept me smiling since I learned to count that high. I always cut 8 slices when I serve a piece of pie. I got an octopus named Speedy. She likes to wear 8 roller skates. When it comes to nifty numbers, you know I love those crazy 8s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So why this comparison? Well, 1, those is some cool facts. 2, Utah packs a punch in a small space when it comes to offerings of the Mother Nature type. In fact, the Mighty 5 are not only famous in this part of the world, but internationally. 3, hitting Utah for a national park experience is overall easier due to the fact there is, again, so much packed into such a small region. Whereas Alaska, while offering an abundance of wildlife and unprecedented vastness and rugged natural beauty, vistas of Jurassic proportions, cut off from much of the world, Alaska offers
unprecedented vastness, a rugged natural beauty, vistas of Jurassic proportions cut off from much of the world,
which equates to many of the national parks not being accessible by road and widely spread. While many are accessible by road, distances between each spot is long, so more time is needed to see more of the state and its national parks. That is the beauty and challenge of this state. As such, visiting some of the more far-flung parks can add to a budget and may require air travel to get to them. Extensive planning and preparation are required to visit the parks in Alaska. Hey, and that's what Goway is here for, because that's what Goway can do. Let's look at each state and their respective national park offerings. Utah, famous as the home of the Latter-day Saints of the Mormons and the Tabernacle in Salt Lake City, it is the ancestral lands at the time of European colonization of 5 distinct native peoples: the Northern Shoshone, the Goshute, the Utah, the Paiute, and the Navajo. If wanting to explore the Mighty 5 national parks of Utah, you need to get yourself to the south of the state where they lie. So, working south to north, you have Zion National Park, Bryce, Capitol Reef, Canyonlands, and Arches National Park. If flying into the state of Utah, then the main gateway will be Salt Lake City. There are, of course, many regional airports to get you closer to your park of choice, but most people will fly into Salt Lake City and then take road transport to their park. The easiest way to get between the parks is, of course, by road. There are bus services that also connect all the main parks, but the easiest and, again, obvious way to enjoy the national parks of Utah is by car. If not your own vehicle, then obviously rent a car or RV. All the roads in the park and connecting the parks are exceptional and sealed, so no special vehicle is required. If looking to rent a vehicle or an RV, Goway can assist with that. To give you an idea of the ease of connecting these parks, let's work again south to north. Zion to Bryce is 2 hours by road. Bryce to Capitol National Park is 2 hours. Capitol to Canyonlands, 2.5 hours. Canyonlands to Arches, all of 30 minutes. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. When to go to the Utah National Parks. Southeastern Utah gets hot in the summer and daytime temperatures can exceed 100 Fahrenheit. Avoid exertion or overheating during the peak temperatures of the day. Consider hiking in the cool of the mornings and the evenings. There can be very little shade on many of the trails, Arches and Canyonlands in particular. Always protect yourself with sunscreen, sunglasses, a hat and protective clothing. Stay hydrated. Heat and dry desert air can quickly lead to dehydration. Bring a minimum of 1 litre, 1 gallon of water per person per day, and remember to drink it. That's a minimum. You can top up your refillable water containers at all the visitor centres. Pack your essentials. Regardless of what park you are visiting, bring plenty of water, food, navigational equipment, including a map, and all the gear you will need, including sun protection, good footwear, layers of clothing, and a first aid kit to be as self-sufficient as possible. People get into trouble and require rescue each year, even on the popular trails. Travelers will experience the best of southern Utah's mountain and desert climates at Bryce Canyon. Summer visitation peaks during July's monsoon season, where travelers will encounter generally dry, warm weather around 80 Fahrenheit, interspersed with dramatic afternoon lightning storms. Night dips into the 30s and 40s, 8 to 12 degrees. November to March are the coldest, with temperatures peaking anywhere from 30 to 40, again 8 to 12, and freezing at night. Because of its higher elevation, Bryce is cooler than the other national parks and can also see snow long into the spring. So what can be done at these national parks? Well, I think it goes without saying that walking and trekking are the most common activities. Based on your national park of choice, you can then choose other activities based on your adventure level and time available. So on that note, how long should you spend at each park?
Tell us, Don.
For a good overview, then at least 1 full day at each park. Based on how much exploration you want to undertake, then you can of course extend this time. Don't forget, simply chilling out in these parks can be as much of a reward as walking and or biking around them. You must pay an entrance fee to enter any of the US national parks, and in summer you will find more than likely you will be bound to a timed entry. From the 1st of April through October 31st, visitors entering a park in a vehicle between 7 and 4 p.m. will need to have already purchased their timed entry. 1 ticket is needed per vehicle. Reservations are released about 3 months in advance. You can enter parks by foot as well, but due to their size and the standard time usually available, having and using a vehicle is the recommended way to visit. The parks will be crazy busy in summer, so be prepared for crowds at entrances and car parks that act as launching boards for the many treks and walks. The following listed days, no entrance fees are required, and of course this is all subject to change. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, first day of National Park Week, Juneteenth, the Great American Outdoors Act Day, National Public Lands Day, and Veterans Day. Naturally expect a lot of crowds on these days. In fact, it is probably better to plan around these days and actually not be there. If you have arranged a group tour, then all entrance fees will be part of the tour cost. If you're wanting to camp, be it at the main campsites or go backcountry camping, then timed entry tickets are not required, but entrance fees and camping fees are all payable in advance of arrival. We suggest you bring all your own camping gear. If you don't want to camp, then there are a wide choice of accommodations near the entrances to the respective parks. Anything from motels to high-end resorts to house rentals. It all depends on time and, as always, budget. But you must reserve accommodation early, as in summer, the high season, all spaces will go fast. Want the best of both worlds? Then look to an RV hire where your wheels are your bed. Vehicle entrance fees still apply, as will hookup charges in the RV designated areas, be it in the park or outside. But you now have true flexibility, and this is the way I do it if I was doing it all again. And my wife and I plan to do it again in the next few years exactly that way. Here is a quick overview of the mighty 5 national parks of Utah. Arches National Park. It's no surprise that Arches National Park is one of the top national parks in America and most famous in the world. It's a 73,000-acre wonderland of eroded sandstone fins, towers, ribs, gargoyles, balanced rocks, and of course arches northwest of Moab. The park protects an amazing landscape that includes the largest proliferation of arches in the world. Over 2,000 arches have been catalogued in Arches National Park. At sunrise, rays of light break over dramatic horizons and a new day begins in Arches. The park is open 24 hours a day, year-round. The visitor centre is typically open between 7:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. in the summer and 9 to 4 in the winter. Things to do in Arches National Park. Camping, hiking, stargazing, mountain biking. In fact, Moab and the surrounds is one of the most famous mountain biking centres in the world. Bryce National Park, an alpine forest with as many red rock hoodoos as the trees. At dawn and dusk, mule deer graze the forested plateau along the road into Bryce Canyon. The alpine environment is home to dozens of species of mammals and birds, all acquainted with a spectacular truth. This is no ordinary forest. Water and wind over millions of years of freezes and thaws have carved into the plateau endless fields of distinctive red rock pillars called hoodoos, as well as into the park's series of natural amphitheatres. And because Bryce Canyon National Park sits at an elevation of about 8,000 feet, there are even opportunities for winter sports like snowshoeing and cross-country skiing. Things to do in Bryce Canyon National Park. Camping, hiking, horseback riding, stargazing, skiing in the winter of time, snowshoeing in winter of course. Canyonlands National Park. Imagine endless deep canyons, towering mesas, pinnacles, cliffs and spires stretching across 527 square miles. This is Canyonlands National Park, formed by the currents and tributaries of Utah's Green and Colorado rivers. Canyonlands is home to many different types of travel experiences, from sublime solitude in the more remote stretches of the park to moderate hikes through the Needles district, to the opportunity to create your own version of one of the West's most photographed landforms, Mesa Arch. Do yourself a favour and don't hurry through the park. This park or any park, take your time. Instead, take your time and let the nature of the Canyonlands sneak up on you and take root in your heart. It's quite likely you'll become so attached to the place that you'll have to return again and again and again. And that can be said for all the national parks. Things to do in Canyonlands National Park. Camping, hiking, rafting, stargazing. Capitol Reef National Park. Even considering Utah's many impressive national parks and monuments, it is difficult to rival Capitol Reef National Park's sense of expansiveness, of broad sweeping vistas, of a tortured, twisted, seemingly endless landscape, or of limitless sky and desert rock. While Bryce and Zion are like encapsulated little fantasy lands of coloured stone and soaring cliffs, the less visited Capitol Reef is almost like a planet unto itself. Here you get a real feel for what the Earth might have been like before life appeared, when nothing existed but Earth and sky. Things to do in Capitol Reef National Park. Camping, canyoneering, hiking, stargazing. Zion National Park. As Utah's first national park, Zion holds an important place in the state's history and culture. It's been home to the ancestral Puebloan, Fremont and southern Paiute people for time immemorial. Zion, with its striking red rock walls and sheer canyons, a desert oasis created over many years by the power of water and wind. A 1,000-foot deep red rock canyon nested in dramatic surroundings. Whether you are trying to catch your breath while climbing the trail to Observation Point or watching the shadows constantly change, the mood of the court of the patriarchs, Zion National Park is always ready to quench your appetite for outdoor wonder. Things to do in Zion National Park. Camping, canyoneering, hiking, stargazing, horseback riding. told you, so much in such a small place, all no more than 2 hours apart, in some instances 30 minutes apart. To knock off all the parks in one visit, you could do it in 9 days, 1 working week. Naturally, the more time you have, the better. Now, let's head north to the complete opposite. Big, I say.
Sometimes they say huge, not a bad one. Huge taxi.
Alaska. First things first, while you can visit in the winter time, there is no sun, and it's cold, being so far north, so that means summer is the time, and in turn, like down south, it is busy. On the seasonal flip side, you get lots and lots of sun, so you can cram a lot into a day. So much so that when I was in Fairbanks, we enjoyed a round of midnight golf, teed off at about 9 p.m. and finished up at around midnight. It was surreal, to say the least. Where in theory you could drive to all parks in Utah in a day, we wouldn't recommend it, but it could be done. Here in Alaska, it can take up to a day to get between just 2 parks. Getting to Alaska, while easy, is a commitment. The main air gateway in is Anchorage, the last large town west before you get to Russia. This is why there's also a large military presence here. When arriving in summer, be prepared for your accommodations to have heavy blinds on the windows, remembering that the sun sets very late, even in Anchorage. It is from Anchorage you will start and finish your explorations of Alaskan national parks. From the staggering heights of Denali in Denali National Park and Preserve to the sweeping sand dunes of Kobuk Valley National Park, each one is beautiful in its unique way. The best way to choose is to ask yourself what kind of experience you're looking for. Would you like your visit to include informative visitor centres, guided tours and paved hiking trails? Then going to one of the more heavily visited parks is your best option. Or perhaps you prefer a trek into pure wilderness, just you and the amazing surroundings with no other humans for miles around. Then look to one of the less visited parks. Whichever you prefer, there is a national park in Alaska that will be perfect for you. When to go to Alaska? Simply put, summer. Summer in Alaska is May through September, and it first shows its warming glow in the Inside Passage region and moves its way north, carried along by the lengthening daylight hours. May is generally the driest month across the state, even in the temperate rainforests of the Inside Passage. And by July, daytime temperatures in the interior can average in the 21 Celsius to 70 degrees Fahrenheit range, although it has been known to reach well into the 30s Celsius or 90s Fahrenheit. Temperatures in the coastal areas and higher elevations rarely get above 18 degrees Celsius or 65 Fahrenheit. Temperatures across the state start cooling in August and September, triggering a riotous display of fall colors across Alaska's tundra and forest landscapes. So if you want to see the changing of the leaves, Alaska in fall can't be beaten. Now, if we talk sunlight in Alaska, or lack thereof, anyone watching the latest Real Detective? Alaska is home to many seasonal phenomena, and while the winters are known for the northern lights, there's nothing like Alaska's midnight sun in summer. Endless summer days give meaning to the term midnight sun, referring to up to 24 hours of sunlight, much of the state basking from the end of April through mid-August, with the longest day of the year being the summer solstice on June 21. In the northernmost city of Alaska, now I can't pronounce the name.
How do you go about pronouncing it? Utqiagvik. Utqiagvik.
So here it is in writing. Located on the Arctic Ocean, it was formerly known as Barrow, is one of the largest Inupiaq settlements in Alaska. It's also the northernmost community in the United States. Its extreme location means it receives 24 hours of daylight from May 10 to August 2 and 24 hours of darkness from November 18 to January 23rd. The sun rises on May 10 and won't set again until August 2nd for 85 straight days of sunlight. The sun won't dip below the horizon in Fairbanks for 70 days from mid-May through to mid-July, hence my midnight golf route. In south central communities like Anchorage, 16 to 19 hours of daylight from May to July means hiking, fishing, gardening and so much more into the late hours of the night is common, with the summer solstice seeing over 19 hours of sunlight and 22 hours of functional daylight. The summer days are so long that even locals lose track of time, so be sure to check your watch or phone when you're out and about in the evening. It is really weird if you're not used to it. You'll have to sleep at some point, and many hotels, as mentioned, include blackout curtains to block out the midnight sun. We recommend bringing an eye mask if you are traveling in summer, just in case. Apart from being a very surreal experience, it means you have lots of daylight to cram in lots of things. Where to stay when visiting a national park? Whether you're looking for a simple spot for good night's sleep before embarking on a big backcountry adventure, or you'd like to lounge in luxury for a week at a wilderness lodge, the options for lodging are plentiful. You will find accommodations ranging from affordable hostels and motels for travelers on a budget, to high-end hotels with all the amenities in beautiful settings, to all-inclusive wilderness lodges and resorts for those looking for that little bit of luxury in the backcountry. Most travelers will find an assortment of nationally and locally owned hotels to choose from in any major destination they visit, many of which allow guests to drop off luggage before checking in, especially convenient when disembarking a cruise ship so you can explore the town before your room is ready. So let's take a look at the more popular parks of the Alaska Mighty 8. Now, I just made the Mighty 8 up, but there are 8 famous ones. Getting to the national parks, once again, bus services abound, as does the choice of private guided services, as well as rail connections, helicopters and float planes. The best way? Road, by car, or an RV. Glacier Bay National Park. Glacier Bay National Park is located on the Alaska Panhandle in the southeastern corner of the state. The park is home to some of the most beautiful vistas of active glaciers the state has to offer. 1,000 to be exact. For nature lovers, the park is a must-visit destination. It's a haven for wildlife, full of grizzly bears, bald eagles, and more. You can enjoy the park by boat, kayak, or on foot, and marvel at the towering glaciers, majestic mountains, and abundant wildlife. There is also a variety of hiking trails ranging from easy to challenging, so there's something for everyone. Plus, you might get a glimpse of a mammoth section of glacier spectacularly carving into the ocean. There's one catch to this amazing park. It can only be reached by plane or boat. The only road merely connects the small town of Gustavus and its airfield to park headquarters at Bartlett Cove. As the crow flies, it's about 480 miles, 770 kilometers away from Anchorage. Kenai Fjords National Park. The word fjord is a Norwegian term for a glacier-carved inlet. And while you may not hear it often invoked in the lower 48, Alaska has an abundance of beautiful fjords that enchant visitors every year. Kenai Fjords National Park is an easy trip over from Kenai Prince's Wilderness Lodge that is one you will want to make. This natural wonder of a park is dotted with impressive glaciers that visitors can take boat tours out to see. Some might even be lucky enough to catch one calving. Areas of the park can also be explored by foot, including the popular Exit Glacier area. The distance from Anchorage is about 248 miles, 400 kilometers, and is about a 4.5-hour drive into the town of Chitina. Wrangell St. Elias National Park. Wrangell St. Elias National Park is on the Alaska-Canada border and is the largest national park in the US. It is also home to the second largest mountain in America, the breathtaking Mount St. Elias. The park boasts stunning glaciers, rugged mountains, and of course, an abundance of wildlife. Alaska is not short on wildlife. With an incredible diverse landscape, visitors can enjoy hiking, camping, fishing, and even dog sledding, yes, in summertime. Don't let the remote location of the park stop you from experiencing the untouched natural beauty. It is truly unlike any other park in the state or the country. Katmai National Park and Preserve. Katmai National Park is home to Mount Katmai, an active volcano that blew its top in 1912 in what was the largest volcanic eruption in Alaska's recorded history. Mount Katmai now features a beautiful crater lake where its peak once stood. Visitors can also explore the Valley of 10,000 Smokes, where the surreal landscape of ash flow left by the volcanic eruption will leave travellers with more than enough to write home about. The park is also famous for its abundant brown bear population, with an estimated 2,200 brown bears making their home within Katmai's boundaries. Today, Katmai National Park is an important habitat for not just brown bears but also salmon, and this is the famous spot, Brooks Camp, where the bears perch like birds above the small waterfall and wait for the salmon to jump into their mouths. Fun fact, the low visitorship is due to the lack of road accessibility of the park. Unconnected to any town by road, most people come to Katmai via float plane or boat from King Salmon or float plane from Anchorage, Homer or Kodiak. Float planes and boats load and unload passengers right along the shores at Brooks Camp. Then there is the literal big daddy of them all, Denali National Park. When your park is home to the tallest mountain on the entire continent, you know you're going to attract a lot of visitors. In fact, nearly 600,000 people every year will visit Denali National Park to get an up-close and personal look at the awe-inspiring Denali Mountain. If you'd like a quick hike the whole family will enjoy, try the Horseshoe Lake Trail near the Visitor Centre. This park, where the towering peaks meet the tundra, forms incredible landscapes of unparalleled beauty. It's home to wildlife such as moose, caribou, bears, wolves and more. This park is a true natural gem of Alaska and is waiting to be explored by you. If you're visiting from Anchorage, you can't really do Denali in a day because it takes 5.5 hours to get there by car or 8 hours by train. We recommend staying a minimum of 2 nights if you stay near the park entrance or camp. This gives you 1 full day in the park to take a bus tour along the Denali Park Road or experience the park in other ways such as hiking or biking. 1 day minimum, 2 days ideal. Plan on 3 or 4 nights if you choose a lodge in Kantishna, deep inside the park. If you're visiting from Fairbanks, 2.5 hours away by road or 4 hours by train, you could spend a few hours exploring the visitor centre and nearby trails, but we still recommend staying at least 1 night, ideally 2. 3 is perfect. Most independent travellers explore Denali by taking one of the bus tours, each of which covers varying lengths of the park road. You can also rent bicycles and go solo, or use the hop-on, hop-off park shuttle to hike sections of the park on your own. Go rafting, flight seeing, take a rowdy ATV tour, or tour the kennel of an Iditarod musher. Book a stay at one of the lodges deep inside Denali where you can hike, bike, canoe and experience Denali National Park away from the crowds. A few other national parks earlier listed but not expanded on here are Kobek Valley National Park in the far north and Lake Clark National Park nearer Anchorage. This one is less visited simply because there are no roads connecting it from Anchorage. So all the national parks we just discussed are gettable to, word I made up, by road, boat or plane. But I also mentioned train as well. There is a rail line that runs from Seward in the south all the way north to Fairbanks and is a perfect way to connect to the national park gateway cities or towns. And of course, Alaska is famous for cruise options, but as these keep you generally coastal, we won't go into much depth here other than to say, if you want to cruise Alaska, Goway can assist. So there you have it, the A to U, Alaska to Utah and their respective Mighty 8 and Mighty 5 national parks. Warm and cozy and easily accessible, each of Utah's Mighty 5 national parks offers a unique tableau of natural wonders and cultural heritage, inviting travelers to embark on a journey of discovery and wonder. Whether exploring ancient petroglyphs, hiking through slot canyons or gazing in awe at towering monoliths, the landscapes of Utah's Mighty 5 beckon with a promise of adventure, inspiration and timeless beauty. Alaska's national parks stand as majestic guardians of the last frontier, embodying the untamed spirit and breathtaking beauty of America's wildest landscapes. From the rugged peaks of Denali to the icy waters of Glacier Bay, these pristine landscapes offer a glimpse into the heart of the last frontier, where nature reigns supreme and adventure awaits around every corner. Summer is always around the corner. Now is the time to plan and book your mighty US National Park getaway. Until next time.